Hey friends, buckle up for a new episode of Soul Dive. You can join Christina King and myself, Chris McCann. If the time's come for you to begin or even accelerate your inner exploration, this show might be for you. Each week, we explore the meaning of life, discover what our purpose is, or just exploring how to be happy. Soul Dive has got you covered. So join us and our guests, of course, and listen to insightful stories about where they've been and perhaps get help navigating your own path. Together, we will soul dive into the deep end of consciousness.
Hi, Chris.
Christina King, it is a pleasure to see your face once again.
Likewise, it's been a while, and I'm so excited today because you bring us a guest.
Well, I think the universe conspired to make this happen. We are joined today by Anila Reddy, Well, good morning, Anila.
Hey.
I met Anila while doing some research on YouTube. And with this program, it was called Unemployed. And it was interesting because when I saw her and just some comments in Slack, or I watched a video and I was like, okay, these are our people and I want to get to know her better. Right. So when you meet folks like that, you put a pin in it and you just trust that at some point you'll be able to spend time. And to do that, she's an incredibly beautiful human and has so much to share. And it's just a privilege and a pleasure to have you on, Anila. Thank you for getting up early and doing this with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Chris and Christina.
I would like to note that Chris got extra points today because he brought us an international guest. She is in India. I'm so excited just at the diversity and the global reach, everything. So I really feel honored to have you on, Anila. So thank you for coming.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. This is super cool.
Great. Well, I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, let's get started. So for those that are just tuning in really quick, both Christina and I went into Anila's records. Christina had no idea who she was. We didn't provide an awful lot of information going into it, nor did Anila fully know what she was getting herself into by saying, yes, I'd love to come on and talk about consciousness and explore. So here we are. Without further ado, Christina, you open up her records and share, please.
Yeah. So immediately, as soon as I said your name, your full name, I had two grandmother energies come in. And I don't know if these are grandmothers that have already passed or if this is just ancestral roots of your soul. But I felt two very strong women, and they were both in full on garb, like a chain. They were sitting on the floor and they were like, yep, Anila Ja, that's her name. That's her name. Like they were so like, yeah, you said her name kind of energy. But I noted that they were sitting on the floor and I felt like there was like instruments or something with them. Okay. Then I saw a blue, very, very blue silk ribbon going out into the darkness. Oh, it looks like Chris pinged on that too. I don't know what it means, but we can explore that. But I saw it very clear, and there's like kind of like almost outer space with this blue stream of something. The next thing, I saw you also celebrating. I don't know if you're getting married or you just got married. No, you're not? Okay. But what I saw, and here's what I saw, were the two women were involved in passing some sort of head thing onto you, where there's things connected. I personally connected it to being married. I could be wrong, but I definitely saw it was like a band or something, and it was a lot of gold and a lot of like strings attached. Okay. And the message I got behind that was kind of like passing on the matriarchy almost. It was like, well, we pass on a responsibility to you, and we're very proud, and we've chosen well along those lines. The next thing is I saw a career thing really quick. It just popped in my head, and I heard the words up, and up. Like things are picking up and will continue to pick up. And
That's why I met Chris.
oh, interesting.
Mhm.
And then I also saw kind of a big life role that you have. You kind of bridge a gap between old and new tradition. It's like you understand one side and you understand the other. And so it's almost like and I'm seeing that the old and the new never really match up, but when you're involved, somehow it works and somehow people get along. I'm seeing like really like alive family members that maybe have conflicts and have problems, and it's almost like you get in the middle of it, but it's not like you're going stop. It's almost like you and you're doing it unintentionally. So it's like a natural thing that you do where people just kind of go with it, whatever magic that you're doing between the relationship. So that's like a very, very solid, and I'm seeing almost like all your life purposes in like streaks here. And that's a really, really strong, like almost golden strip is this relationship bridging, this cultural traditional gap that you're doing. So with all of that said, I will turn it over to Chris and let's see what he got. And we will give you a chance to respond and explore. Don't worry, but we got to get it out.
Yes. So I'm just going to throw up all over the place, and then we'll start to like pull the pieces together. So immediately, and I was going back and forth between Anila and Anila Ja was what I was saying silently. And as I was going in, I kept seeing something spinning around very fast. So like at carnivals, how when you're up against the wall and then you spin around so fast that the floor drops, it looked like that from the outside, but it was very playful and very carnival-esque. But then I was like, well, is that or is it something else? And when I asked that question, then something else appeared. And it was a young girl wearing a blue bonnet, picking flowers. I want to say like tulips, so tall grass and tulips. And I couldn't figure out like what the story was or what the significance was. But I knew it was tied to a nursery rhyme or some sort of story. And while Christina was divulging what came through for her, what came through for me was the nursery rhyme, "Mary, Mary, quite contrary." Are you familiar with that nursery rhyme?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So there it's, "Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row." There's an older version. It says, "Mistress Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells, and so my garden grows." So when I was reading that, and then it brought me back to this object that was rotating in the sky. So it was like, it wasn't supported by anything else. And so it came back to feminine, very much the color blue, like lighter blue. And then perhaps being informed by entities and or intelligences that are outside of this particular dimension. So the circular thing wasn't necessarily meant to talk about extraterrestrials in the sense of being silver-skinned reptilian aliens, but more about your connection to multidimensionality and trusting the information and intelligence that you're receiving to allow for you to grow this garden. And in this garden, I saw very, very clearly you with like a shepherd's hook, as well. So you as the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in the nursery rhyme. So does any of what we shared resonate or make sense?
I think what Christina said about bridging the gap between the old and the new kind of makes sense from what I'm doing currently. Because I do like to share, teachings on consciousness or oneness perspective from a modern day perspective in a very practical way, so that it doesn't just remain as a philosophical quote. When we read a Rumi quote, it's beautiful, but then you're like, okay, well, what do I do with this when I'm experiencing trouble with my friends or a partner? So my work involves a lot of applying the practicality behind the Hindu scriptures, or what I call, in Sanskrit it's called Advaita Vedanta, which is the oneness or consciousness teachings, but in a way that you and I, as well as somebody who's not heard of consciousness, can explore without it sounding like, okay, this is so left field, I don't know what you're talking about. So in a way, their sort of logical mind can follow, but also can give it a break. So in that way, it makes sense. Because, I just think that it's everybody's fundamental right to know who they are, which is, the nameless, faceless, and formless self. So, but to make it accessible and not be a snooze fest, oh, okay, so if I do this, I'll get this. So just to explore out of curiosity, like a child. So I try to put it in those terms and share my message using real life, current examples. And I think when she said, bridging between the old and the new, I also felt like to follow these teachings, I can't, I don't like coming across, or I never tell my audience that, I'm above them. I walk with them. So I share my real life stories, even if it's something that happened earlier this week or, last year. It's just being, and showing that embodying these teachings require absolute honesty. So can't be like, oh yeah, I'm always awesome because I discovered these teachings. It's not like that. It's being authentic in the moment and realizing that, okay, if I'm feeling irritated or frustrated or angry, I don't get angry, but if I feel upset, it's because I am confusing myself with the story and forgetting who I am for just those moments. So I think in that way, yes, what Christina said, resonated. But I'm not quite sure about the blue silk ribbon, even though it sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you were talking about that, I got goosebumps. So I'm like, okay, confirmation. But I think it's very interesting. And I feel like they're wanting me to emphasize this is your purpose. So a big.
And thank you so much for saying that, because I was telling a friend a few weeks ago that even if I don't do anything, so I, I'm also a physician, and I don't know if that's okay to share. And also I am working to be a licensed psychotherapist in the US. I said, no matter what I do, I can't think of not sharing the oneness teachings or from a practical perspective. Even if I have no audience, even if there's just one person, it's something that I love, and it's so innate. I can't be without it. So it's not that. So and that's also why I make sure that I don't share anything from a perspective of, oh, if I do this, then I'll gain XYZ from this person. It's just, do I want to share? Is it expressing my joy in this moment? And that's it. Not to make something else happen. So yeah.
So as you were talking, some more things came through in response to what you're saying. And one of them is absolutely integrate whatever practice you're in with this teaching that you do, because I'm seeing kind of a perspective of like humanity right now. And it's kind of like zeroing in on you. Well, there's like, it's almost like spots of humanity that are in the dark. So there are a lot of people that can help on earth. There are so many, right? But some people resonate with one kind of person or one kind of way, and some people go in a different way. And I'm seeing that this is kind of all orchestrated by your soul. Like you've planned this. This is what you were like, oh, I think I'm going to touch people that, don't necessarily resonate with other things. I am going to bring this knowledge from the other place. I'm going to learn it as a human and practice it. And I'm going to incorporate it so that I can actually resonate with the people that need that on the earth. So I'm getting absolutely be authentic. And they're actually telling on you a little bit because you are very focused on being humble, but they're like, you can't always edit yourself to be so humble that you're trying so hard to be humble. You kind of have to sometimes put it out there and just own it. And it's also important for you to express yourself in that way, because almost like if you do that all the time, it's like, well, where are your needs being met? Well, part of the beauty of you is to express yourself and to be proud of yourself. That's very key as well. It's actually food for your soul. And you don't have to feel like you're being arrogant. You can just be proud. And it's wholesome because you want everybody to be proud of themselves too. It's not like a competition that you've ever said that you're going to do. You just, you want everyone to experience joy. You want everyone to be proud. And so you can share your proud moments, and that's going to bring other people who are not so proud of themselves, or maybe they're reluctant to also talk about their pride, the things that they're proud of. And it's going to encourage them to also express themselves so that they can feel whole.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that, in the sense that I know that when I step into the freedom of who I am, whether you call it love or power or joy, whichever term resonates, it also allows the other person to step into theirs and recognize their true essence. And again, that's the beginning of every fruitful relationship with other people as well as life. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Well, Chris, do you have anything? Because after you talk, these grandmotherly figures will not stop. So go ahead.
Yes. And so some of it I'll share offline, so it's not recorded and something that came through. But what I would love to know, Anila, is, do you recall the moment that you woke up?
Yes, I do. So I was just, I think, transitioning from like this one set of law of attraction teachings, which are Abraham Hicks teachings. I don't know if the viewers are familiar, but I was still exploring that. And then I came across these teachings of this guy, Neville Goddard. Okay. So in the beginning, the first time I opened his book, I didn't understand a word he said. I just read 2 pages and I just shut it. And 2 days later, I don't know why, I was just feeling, surrender to the moment. And then when I opened the book, it just clicked. I was like, oh my God, there's no separation between who I am and, a source. There's no, I'm not an extension of something. It's that I am the whole. Because he says in the book, he's like, he just cuts to the chase. He's like, you are God. You're not the role you're playing. Who you truly are is, God, freedom, the power, like the operant power. And I didn't understand that fully until I realized that, wow, all of the prior teachings, they were, useful. I'm not criticizing any of these teachings, but they all had layers. They all had like hand holding, baby steps, like, oh, okay, I'm an extension of a source. So I'm not fully source. I'm also source, but I'm also an extension. And this guy just went ahead and said, and that's when something happened where I just banged my table and I was like, oh my God, like, why did I not know this before? Because I wasn't ready before to hear it. Like I wouldn't have known what to do with that. But it was like all the layers just fell apart. And then I realized there was no separation between me and a whole. Like the universe was not outside of me, it's within me. And that's when a lot of things made sense. And my whole perspective shifted. And once it shifted, I realized that I went back to like a full circle to what my original desire many years ago was, to understand the Hindu scriptures, which is the teachings of oneness, where the very first line begins with saying the self is consciousness. I did not know what it fully meant until that moment. That, wow, it's not that there's a separate, Chris or separate Christina or separate Anila, but that we're actually one, just playing different roles, and that we're not a part of something bigger. That, if we just remove the idea of us being in separate roles, that we are one. And may I share a question, like what really helped seal this, knowing? It was, so I just kind of played with this, self-inquiry question, which struck me. And I just asked myself, without reference to memory, thoughts, or beliefs, what is true of this moment? And, well, it was just, I am, the words I am aware. It's not, I am aware of Chris or Christina or Anila, because without my memories or my thoughts or beliefs, you're not separate from me. Mm-hmm. Only my eyes are seeing some appearances, but if I don't refer to any of my past or beliefs or thoughts, then there's nothing to say that you're different from me or that you are outside of me. So yeah, that just hit me.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. Wow. So many questions. But Christina, the grandmothers are knocking. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I think do you have grandmothers who have passed?
Yes, actually both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Cause I'm like, I keep asking them and they're not telling me. And they're very, very traditional kind of women. And they want me to emphasize the sitting on the floor thing. I can see them kind of almost like on like tile or some sort of wooden floor. And it's almost like they're in a temple. But the way they dress, or the way I see them now, it's a lot of greens and like browns almost, not like the pinks and the blues that you see. It's almost like much more rustic and much more humble clothes. Not they wear it for they say they wear it for covering the body. They wear it to connect to the earth. I'm hearing their accent right now. That's very cute. They and I'm asking them, why are they here? And they're like, we want her to. I just almost came out in accent. Wow, they're really, really strong. They want you to know that they're here, is what they want. They're also cheering you on, but they're also helping you out, they said, with all of the pursuits, plural, that you are undergoing. It's almost like they want to be involved in your purpose as well. So I don't know if they're very religious when they were here, but they're definitely now. Yeah, they're definitely now. And I do think that like kind of crown thing was of religious symbolism more than like a marriage thing. Absolutely. And so I don't know, like, I don't know much about, and you're closest to Hindu religion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know much about that at all. So I'm going to ask a very ignorant question. So enlighten me. What are the leaders called? Are they ministers? Are they priests?
Yes, priests.
Priests. Can you have women priests?
That's an interesting question. I've not seen women priests, but there are like sages. So again, like Hinduism is more, it's a way of life, and it just sort of turned into a religion by people who don't truly understand it. So.
Okay.
Well, Christina, pause, put a pin in that.
I'll put a pin. Go.
A few minutes ago when Anila was talking, and I was like, saint is what came to mind. And so as you're talking, for me, I'm thinking, well, there are women saints, of course, but that could also be other expressions or other lifetimes as well that are being leaned into. So sorry, Christina, but I wanted to just throw that because that was coming through really, really, really loudly, was the sanctification of an experience.
Oh, you're done?
Yes, I'm a little stunned by it.
Yeah. No, but the grandmas are still here for sure. And they want to express that they're very, very proud and honored that you're going the direction that you're going. They're so elated. Like, she is going the right way. And hold on, sorry. So I keep thinking about leaders of, Hinduism and things like that, but and the role of the woman. They keep talking about the role of woman, and they're saying that if the times were now, they both would be pursuing a deeper access to people than women were allowed back then. And they said that's very, very key for you to take with you today. Is this woman thing. It's like this matriarch thing. They're really hammering it home. So let me just check in real quick because they're still here.
Persistent.
Yeah, no. Well, the feeling overall of them hammering me is just pure love and pride and honor. It's just like they're not like pushing me as in talking like 500 miles. They're just, their presence is just like really, really in my face because they're not done yet kind of deal. So I have to probe in my own way and see what other things can I deliver for them today. So, but yeah, they are persistent. So one of them said, I don't know how to identify which one it would have been, but you might know if I tell you, but one of them was like, the importance of food, emphasize the importance of food. So like of gathering, of sharing food and things like that. And it's almost like I see a temple full of people eating together or like a big gathering place. And I can see where you're feeding people. You are standing with like a ladle, serving food for others. And I think that is more of a metaphor of what you're doing for others. Actually, I think it's more of like this humbleness that you have to bring around the soup, bring around the rice, bring around anything that is to be served. And you're like happy to do it. You're very willing to do it. And this is what you feel like. It's almost like I can feel your soul be full of joy that you're delivering these ladles and ladles of food. So it's random, but that's what they're telling me.
That's beautiful. So in the Western world, Anila, I don't know that we do a really terrific job of honoring or incorporating our ancestors.
We don't.
What role, if any, do your ancestors play in this experience? And how would you introduce someone to the potential importance or elevated experience when we do incorporate ancestors and honor their beingness?
I think the way I would incorporate my ancestors is to see what they stood for rather than, their specific needs or desires, especially considering people in this line of teachings, or people who were familiar with the Hindu scriptures. They were more focused on having a healthy or a vibrant inner world because they believed in coming from the inside out. So rather than doing a lot of things outside, when we take care of our mental house, then we can serve another without thinking that they are another, that they're not foreign from us. So, and what that means is, for me, it has been really important to, for instance, treat, let's say one person has a temporary label of being called a victim, another person is wearing a temporary label of the victimizer. It's to treat or serve both of them from the same love, not criticizing them. And I think it's really important for me to see my reactions, especially in social justice movements, because as I was growing up, or even on social media, I always, see people, especially with the official badges, claiming to be self-help authors or gurus. They seem to fall apart when a social, justice movement occurs, an event sparks. And it's not a criticism, it's just an observation. So I thought, well, that's not how I want to serve, because that I'm not interested in being okay, this person did this, so condemn them, and then accept this other person who suffered. And I'm not saying accept these wrongful actions, but to serve even the seeming perpetrator with the same amount of love and adoration as I would the seeming victimizer, if that makes sense. So, to just know that no matter what any person is doing, they're just playing a role. That's not who they truly are. And coming from that perspective would honor what my, not just my grandparents, but what these teachings or the sages or the saints are all about. They're not just people who sit on hills, praying. They're people who are like the sky, undisturbed, no matter what weather is being played on its background. So, and again, I'm not saying it's always easy, but it's, I like coming from that perspective and replying to people or, counseling people or even coaching people from the place of empowerment rather than, oh, I'm so fired up to condemn this person. No, that's what
It's really interesting that you said all of that, because right before you said all of that, I got the same kind of vibe. But let me ask you, do you work with a lot of men?
Not a few. When I like coaching all people, like every gender. Because my whole idea is to see ourselves without the labels. Like, I'm not a female. just a female body, but so it has been very like essential to me, because with each label comes certain set of beliefs or seeming restrictions. So I don't want to ever kind of categorize myself as, only like, let's say a women's coach, because that's isolating myself from the seeming other people,
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I'm feeling like your best work will actually be with men. And the grandmothers have backed up a little bit, but they kind of throw in that the modern man in India has it really bad, has it rough. It's a hard culture on them. And people would be a little deceived to think like otherwise, but actually the men are not being heard. I'm hearing.
Yes.
They're not being heard. And the behavior is a result of this societal problem, the social problem of not being heard. So you working with men will break a barrier, first of all, because there's this weird thing of like, I'm a man, I should only talk to a man. But they actually need a woman to, like you, to play this role and start kind of opening up them to everything, So I'm actually seeing visuals of, and I'm not saying that everybody, that men and women are different or one and the same. I'm just saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying that the moms are the moms. Okay. I'm saying that moms are really kind to their sons, but at the same time, it's almost abusive. It's like, it's like almost like kicking them down, keeping them down. And then the men, they don't have any, like, they can't stand on their own and they try to find their way. But there's all kinds of different men, but men are always treated kind of the same. Whereas, I'm getting this big emphasis on men and women as well, but I'm getting that men as in sexual crimes, petty theft. These are all expressions of frustration.
Yeah.
So your best work will be with men. Just keep that in mind. They're just telling me that. It'll be probably very fulfilling, because here is a woman who's non-judgmental in their lives coming forth, and it will definitely open doors for the man and help them heal and help them understand where they are in the universe.
Right on. That's a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. I was just like,
I love it.
It just came back. It just hammered me. I had to get it out. But Chris.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about how you tested, if you will, if you did, your waking up. Like, and so when you begin to understand the nature of reality,
yes,
how did you begin to engage and play with that and become a co-conspirator?
Yeah. So I initially just saw, because, the seeming past, there's always clues, right? Because from the perspective of the teachings that I follow, I can see that imagination creates reality. And I don't mean daydreams. It's the feeling of knowing that, okay, no matter what, I know this has already happened. So I just saw that that's how I've been operating, but unconsciously, unknowingly in my past. That's how everybody around me has also been operating. So I saw that, when I felt I remember this time when I knew I wanted to go to Turkey, and I just felt this feeling of, Middle Eastern culture infusion. I just experienced that feeling. It was, you could say, like a mix of a visual as well as like an auditory input. And then I just felt that. So that I had imagined that unknowingly, and I just knew that, I know I already visited Turkey. And then what followed of like almost a month and a half later is that our parents, when I was in medical school, my parents surprised me and my sister, and we went to Turkey for 16 days. I never told anybody I wanted to go. So that's just one event of so many different things. I feel like I've already connected with my friend, and then, the friend calls. So I would just take note of not just the seemingly good things that have happened, but even the bad things that have like sort of, that I label as bad things in the past that I once feared would materialize. Like I would fear like, I'm always taken advantage of. And that would play out in relationships. So I think an essential component of waking up is not to just hone in on the good things or be like, okay, I'm done. Like I've woken up, but it's to know that you can, since you're the infinite being, you hold space for duality. So both the experiences that you gave labels to, and to see it from that perspective. So yeah, and I would also play like even deliberately, just before going to the YouTube thing, I was like, it'd be so cool if somebody would explore like this consciousness teachings in the YouTube field without me having to search on YouTube per se. And then, I randomly met you. I was like, it's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences, And so, yeah, I just play with things like that. And I no longer have rituals. And so I started this thing where I say, that I created the unritual process, just culling out all the techniques and just being. So, yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So Christina, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. I'm still stuck on the Indian man and you being able to discern, how that really blew me away, and just how that's just a common challenge, almost regardless of ethnicity or experience. Is there anything else that you would like to share with Anila?
It's died down. The two grandmothers are chilling. They're very satisfied. Like they're like, okay, yeah, okay, we got what we wanted to say out. I do want to say, are you organizing any kind of retreats or gatherings? I'm feeling like maybe you are. And it's almost like billed as like a modern day Hindu retreat where, and it will be primarily women at first. Are you thinking about that? Because I'm feeling like, yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know about it being a Hindu retreat, but yes, I was, thinking that in the future I'd have like a group program, so that's closer to a retreat. But yeah, and I think even the new course that I'm just releasing, or I released a part of it. It's just like an hour course, but it has to do with the unritual process. It's to just lead us back to our true self without, the theory, without it sounding philosophical, like an actual experience. And so I feel like that in itself is a retreat, like a retreat into your own being. So.
Absolutely. But I actually see people coming.
So I think,
to physically be with you. So
that would be really cool. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It might not happen this year, but it's supposed to happen, where it's almost like but it's magical in a way.
I did. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I did once, have this feeling that I know that I want to speak in front of, an audience. It need not be on a stage, but just a gathering. So, but like with the idea of it being like a talk or a retreat, but a live stage event. Yeah.
Well, I'm really getting that strongly, where I see that you will be speaking here and there, like for workshops and there will be some travel involved, but I am getting focused on the fact that people will come from across the globe to come and visit you. And it's magical because they're actually stepping physical foot in India, and the people that are coming, they will need something from that area,
Yeah.
They'll need
That's
something.
Interesting. Because I really want to be in the US as well. So
you still could be and still lead people over. But I'm seeing people physically going to India to see you, to connect with themselves and with India. Mm-hmm. So with that said, anything else for you, Chris?
Anila, you are incredible. And I'm glad we get to share this experience together. I'm here while we're here doing what we're doing now. And if we'll put how to contact you in the show notes. But largely, if you could take a couple of minutes and just talk us through what the vibeproject.org is. What is it that you're building? Let's talk about this community.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. It's really great being here. And so right now I started with the vibeproject.org. So that has become like our group of, conscious creators. Mm-hmm. But me and my co-founder, Clay, we are now working from anilareddy.com. Mm-hmm. So to give the Vibe Project like a face, I guess. And so I, since I'm also a physician and getting my license to be a psychotherapist, what struck me was this was so cool that I really wanted to coach people or guide people. I don't even like the word coach, honestly. I like the word sharer, or I called myself a mirror. So I'm a mirror. I just reflect people's brilliance back to them. And so I like showing people how to step out of their old stories and, help them surrender to the life they truly desire. And so without the pressure of mentally rehearsing a lot of techniques, because there's lots of information out there, lots of techniques of how you need to be really disciplined, how you need to, if you really want it, you have to follow a certain regimen. But I'm the opposite. I'm like, no, to know your essential being, it's not discipline. It's a relaxation into this moment without trying to push against it. And that's why I came up, with the unritual process as well. I do have a few steps in it, but that's the essence of, falling back into the knowing of who we truly are. And that just knocks out all the rituals, we've done. Because all we've ever desired, honestly, through your teachings, whatever teachings, a religion is, okay, what is that happiness? What is that joy, right? We try to acquire it through objects, people, or events, but realizing that, we are innately fulfilled, that allows us to create deliberate experiences. So that's what the Vibe Project is about. So
Thank you. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah, it was truly magical for me. I am so honored to be a part of the messages that were were communicated today. Then your vibe is just so good. So when you said vibe, I'm like, she has a great vibe.
Love it.
Yeah, it's so great to be amongst, like I said, like conscious, deliberate creators who want to manifest, I guess, if that's the word your audience resonates with, manifest the life you truly desire. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Anila.
Thank you so much, Christine.
Bye all.
Thank you.